Welcome to Keep It Moving with Marsha Jews. We are so excited. Welcome to We Keep It Moving with Marsha Jews. We are very excited today to host this incredible show. Black Art Today presents in partnership with Nieman Marcus, KUUMBA at Tyson Galleria this coming Saturday, February 26th, 2022, from 1 to 5, celebrating Black History Month. And we are so excited to be able to have everyone here who is involved with this program. And one of the partners is Black Art Today. And the CEO and COO, Alicia and Lisa Clark, are with us today. Hello, ladies. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you?
We're very excited. I'm happy to see you all here. I'm grateful that you all have the time to come on with us. Tell us how this project began.
It began with a phone call. Probably about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday in the middle of the day. Alicia got a phone call, and I saw it. Her whole disposition kind of changed. And she's like, "Could you hold on a second so I can get my business partner on the call?" So she puts us on speaker. She puts the young lady on speaker, and she says who she is. She's Ashley from Nieman Marcus. She's a brand and experience manager there. Mm-hmm. And she would like to partner with Black Art Today to do an art exhibit in honor of Black History Month. So that's how it started.
Just a phone call.
And that was a call. And the question was, how did you find us? And it was very simple. She said she Googled us.
She Googled you because she knew that you had you had the goods that she needed.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think this is really important. I've not heard of Nieman Marcus hosting a project like this. And so how did you select the artist?
Well, we have an extensive roster of artists that we interact with, and a lot of the artists we actually have personal relationships with. Mm-hmm. So as an organization, we provide opportunities to emerging and aspiring artists. So we already had like 17 artists that we could pull from. But for this particular show, we knew that we were going to Nieman Marcus, and we wanted the top artists in the DMV, in the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia, to participate in that, because we wanted to put our best face and foot forward for this particular environment. And so we just started calling people that we knew that were phenomenal artists and had phenomenal work that would just wow the people that would be attending the exhibit. But most importantly, their level of creativity was the determining factor. You know, a lot of people can paint, a lot of people can draw, but not everybody can create. And there is a distinct difference. And the artists that we have participating in the exhibit are truly creatives. They do amazing work. I mean, all of their work is here in our home now, and you can go in and you can feel the energy from their work. And it's just, we're literally immersed in the exhibit here in our home, mm-hmm. because we can just walk across the hall and there's all the art. I mean, we can even smell the paint from a lot of it. So it's very exciting.
That is exciting. You know, I think what's even more exciting to me is, that I think of just the people that are coming there who will obviously be, because they're going to be very specific and very intentional in what they do and their planning, and the people who will be there. I am certain with projects like this, I think Nieman Marcus is going to be a little surprised to see how many people are going to show up to see this art exhibit. And so it's going to be on the 3rd floor, and that's a wonderful space up there, right?
Well, yesterday we had some time, and so we called Ashley and said, hey, we need to see the space so we know what we're walking into, because originally it was on the third floor. So when we arrived and we were trying to get to the third floor and realized we couldn't get to the third floor on the escalators. They are renovating the escalators, so you can't get to the third floor on the escalators. You have to take the elevator. And so Ashley was saying, she said, we're not going to do it on the third floor. We're doing it on the first floor. So the exhibit space is now diagonal to the Nieman Marcus Cafe. So it'll be almost it. The way that we plan on setting it up, it'll be an L shape. It'll go from the parking lot entrance to the mall entrance. It'll be an L, and it will have that center aisle.
Right. And it's actually more space than we would have had on the third floor. So
wonderful.
We're happy about it, actually.
Yes.
But plus, I like the idea that there's access points so people can still come in. I like that. You know, sometimes people can't, they get sidetracked trying to get to the third or the fourth floor and doing all that. It's like a lot of work. And I'm one of those people like, I got to go through all this to find how am I going to get them. I put it way up here. You want people to come in and handle their business.
Right. As soon as they come in, there it is.
Look at God. Look at God.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we said.
Look at God making it happen. And I think that, you know, what's so really powerful about this, and I'm really excited. And, you know, we're winding down the end of Black History Month. And what better way than bringing our creativity to the forefront for people to be able to see the works of so many gifted, talented artists that, and many of whom have already been seen in that area, but there is going to be a lot of people who will be showing up, especially with these new access points that haven't had that opportunity. And you never know who's in that room and what the possibilities might be, right?
Exactly.
So I'm so grateful that you all agreed to join us today, because this, for me, I am full of bubbles. You know, a couple of these artists know me and they know I get all giggly and, you know, when I'm excited, and I am excited. I just think it's a profound opportunity. And I'm really grateful that Ashley was able to convince her managers that this was the right thing to do. Right. And I'm looking forward to this being an annual event that you all can manage. This is fabulous. I'm very excited. You came up with the name of the show, and KUUMBA. Would you all share with us why this was important to use this name?
So we looked at a couple of different names, and the thing. During the holidays, we do, you know, on social media, we do different posts. And one in particular, we were posting for Kwanzaa. And somehow we were going back and forth with names. We had talked to some other people, and we were looking at different angles. So our initial angle was going to be more a historic perspective.
Right.
And we were not able to pull that together because of the resource constraints. So then we said, you know what, let's pivot. Let's focus on the creativity. And then I remembered that Kwanzaa had a principle that talked about creativity. And I said, okay, let me Google this. And there we are. And that's how we came up with the name.
And KUUMBA is the commitment to being creative within the context of restoring traditional greatness and leaving the community more beneficial and beautiful. That's so powerful.
Right,
it
is.
And it's perfect for this show.
Yes.
Because all of the artists that we selected, they embody that principle in their work. So it was only befitting to call it that.
And I understand during the event, you'll have violinist Jennifer Jenkins as a participant as well.
Yes.
Well, I know that we have everybody in place. Are there a few words that you would like to say before we start talking to these amazing artists?
I just hope that everyone comes out and see this amazing art. All the art will be available for purchase. The purchases benefit each artist. It also benefits us in the sense that we are now a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We recently was awarded that was about 2 weeks now. So we're in the process of rebranding. We have some initiatives. We have an artist that we'd like to get to the United States, but primarily we're trying to take a group of artists to Miami Art Week this year for an exhibit in Spectrum. So the proceeds from the sales, part of those proceeds will go towards that.
That's wonderful. I think that people miss the importance of the nonprofits and the ability, and there are so many corporations who are really interested in being generous, and especially with the arts. And so it's a leading funding opportunity between arts and STEM. So now it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, right?
Yes.
And so if we look at those are our sweet spots, this is really phenomenal. I'm really happy for you all, and I know that you're going to be successful. And we're going to circle back, but let's start chatting with our artists and get a good feel for who they are and why they're with us today, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay. The first person we'd like to interview is Maria Lana Queen, and she's a Washingtonian. She received her bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of District of Columbia. She is self-taught artist who has been creating works of art since 2003. As a former fashion model, she never considered painting until a devastating personal loss started her artistic journey. And she's been receiving supplies and gifts from a dear friend, painting, helping her deal with the loss of her brother in 2003, and gave her the inspiration to create a body of work that has become her voice in the world. Maria Lana Queen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Marsha, for having me and the others tonight. And thank you, Black Art Today, Lisa and Alicia. Hello.
Yes. Well, is that some of your work hanging behind you?
Yes, it's a part of my personal collection. It is my work behind me. This is titled Resilience. And to the left and right, I've got shields that I paint, but I am an abstract artist, as you mentioned, self-taught. And just here in my home and in my studio, doing my thing.
And so what happens when you go into your studio? Is there some, I'm going to ask everybody, because it's like, do you go into some sort of transformation? How do you get centered to start your project?
Well, to answer your question, for me, what happens is magic. Okay. And it's almost, as I'm a self-taught artist, I never know what I'm going to create. I'm always texting Alicia and Lisa, even Preston. I'm like, look at me, look what I'm doing. It's divine intervention, actually, for me. And so it has to be, because I've been quite successful, and I just say I'm blessed. I never know what I'm going to create. But I feel like I have been given this talent to leave my mark on the world, if you will, as an advocate. I mean, I love to paint, but since 2003, I've become more and more aware of really what my purpose in life is. One of my purposes is to create and to be able to demonstrate a voice for advocacy as an African-American female, but person in this country. And just recognizing some of the injustices that have been done to our people as a culture. I am able to speak that voice more so through the arts. And so I feel like I'm anointed to be able to reflect that and to speak about the importance of supporting African-American young people. And also, as you mentioned, my work is literally a painted diary. A lot of times we can't express ourselves the way we want, or we just choose not to because we are private individuals. So everything you see in my work is a reflection of my experiences as an African American female, growing up poor, being raised in a single female household, one of 10 children, going through the whole 9 yards.
Right.
That would take
Right.
me forever to talk about that.
Right. Life.
Yeah, life. And so now I am very supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. For me, it's not just about police brutality at all. It's about that movement that has now created a, if you will, on all hands on deck approach to helping America's young African American people and children, particularly, to be able to grow up, to thrive, to be healthy, and to access the American dream. And so that is reflected in my latest work. And I feel very excited and empowered about that. And I feel very excited about being in this show. I mean, when Lisa and Alicia called me, 3 weeks ago, they were excited. I was in my studio painting. I'm working on the solo exhibit for Martha's Vineyard in August, but I stopped and I said, you got it. I got pieces for you. I'm excited. I have to do this. And then I saw the roster and the bios of all these phenomenal African-American fellow artists. I am thrilled. I know some of you, I don't know all of you, but I feel like I'm just all of a sudden connected to this phenomenal event. So thank you.
That's wonderful. And I do have a question. What medium are you using?
I mostly work with acrylic. I work on, because for me, I'm a crazy cuckoo artist. I need to have this work dry very quickly. And as some of you know, if you're working in oil, it takes forever, but I got to keep going. So I'm an acrylic artist, but I use found objects also in many of my works, which you can't see here, but, and I work on paper and canvas. Okay. And, again, I write diaries, I create my paintings, I use words and text, and things of that nature. So because I'm self-taught, I just like to have fun and no rules and regulations for me. I mean, just doing my thing. And that's what I do in my studio. And like I said, it's just exciting when you get in there. I know maybe in my head a theme, but suddenly it's almost like, here I am, I'm painting and this is pretty good. I like what I see. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at the warrior woman over here because you said the shield, and then I see behind you, it's like a fence that has been there and it's broken, right?
How did you know that? So here's the thing.
I was looking at it.
People who know that about me know that I paint cages and fences that are broken to really demonstrate that even though we have trials and tribulations, we as a culture, people, and we've come so far, people have paved the way for us. We break out of that. I have crosses in my work which represents my faith, our faith to persevere. I have young African-American like children, the darkest palette you can use black to represent like, here I am, America, guess what? I'm here to stay. Regardless if you can see me or hear me, I'm here. And a lot of times through that, I may represent a cage on a female childlike image is I may represent a cage over a mouth of an African-American boy that's an abstract. You'll see that in Saturday's show. And it just basically says that despite all of that and everything we do to protect young children, unfortunately, when they grow up or when we grow up, sometimes we're not seen or heard. So we have to fight a little bit harder. I say fight with your mind, not with your fist. So here's my voice. And I'm also fighting. My mind is using art and through the arts. I hope that my message, as well as the messages of all the artists before me, will get through. And it does because of the reaction that we get in so many ways.
Well, girl, because I just saw it all right there in my face.
Thank you. And I love your braid. My braid is going to look like that very soon.
And easy breezy, girl. Yeah. I don't have time to be doing all that rolling up and stuff.
My mom wears, my 90-year-old mother wears her hair like that every day. My twin braids her hair. I'm a twin.
I love it.
I'm a twin and I paint diptychs. Most of my paintings are side by side. They are two paintings together, which represent a diptych.
I love it. But give your mama a hug for me.
I will.
Okay, because my mama used to do that too, the braid. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go to our next artist, Louise Perez de Valliere. Hello, Louise. I know you're in
Hey
this.
everyone.
Hello, how are you?
Oh man, I am so excited to be in such great company. You just can't believe. I just can't believe it.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm just very excited. And if I may introduce you, sir,
Oh yes.
Luis is an award-winning artist born in Nicaragua in 1980 and migrated to the United States in 1986 at the age of 13. He started painting graffiti murals in the district, Maryland and Virginia, also known as the DMV. And a few years later at Bell Multicultural High School, he began his formal artistic education, continuing the studies at the Corcoran College of Art and Design. In 2013, he was selected as the winner of the East of the River Distinguished Artist Award. The year he was also a finalist in the District of Columbia's 28th Annual Mayor's Arts Awards. These accomplishments preceded the presentation of the National Museum of Catholic Art and Library National Artist Award by Prince Lorenzo Maria de Medici in 2014, and his selection as the artist commissioned for the 2015 Beijing District of Columbia Sister Cities project. The latter project resulted in a panda statue painted by de Valliere that was given to the mayor of Beijing as a state gift from Mayor Muriel Bowser. De Valliere is also the recipient of the 2015 National Museum of Catholic Art and Library Portrait Award. In 2017, Luis was honored with the NCIS Director's Coin by NCIS Director Andrew L. Traver. In 2019, Luis was awarded second place in the Chroma International Juried Art Exhibition by Art Impact International. He received his first commission from the fitness franchise Body by Jake after his 16th birthday. Since then, he's been commissioned by other businesses and foundations. You have to read he's got a lot of stuff he's done. And I got the honor of working with Luis at the Frederick Douglass Isaac Meyer Maritime Park Museum at the Bierman Gallery. And it was just a pleasure to have him with us. How you doing, Luis?
Oh man, I'm so glad that I got that phone call from you. Like, was that a Saturday? It was like 10 at night, and I'm like, what is she doing up at this time? She should be sleeping after you've done like all these shows. And then I remember when we worked at the Frederick Douglass Isaac, he was like, you're nonstop. I'm like, how did she do this? So I'm just trying to keep up with you.
Listen, I saw all these people's names. Somebody sent me an email, and if you think I was going to go to sleep, you know better. That we were not going to sleep on this. I was seeing all these people I know, and they're going to be in
Nieman Marcus.
Nieman's in Virginia. What? Yeah, we're going to do something. And fortunately, Black Art Today was ready. They just said, who is this woman she calling? She bugging us to death every time. I know they did that. That's all right, because all y'all do that same thing. But we needed to make this happen. And I'm so grateful that all of you were able to attend. Let's talk about how you got into the arts and that beautiful piece behind you. Why don't you share oh my goodness, I see several people in there.
Yeah, so this is, I tell people Andy Warhol had Marilyn Monroe. He did like hundreds of pieces of her. And my Marilyn Monroe is Mystic Copeland. I've done maybe about 25, about 30 paintings of her, of different styles. And also, I've also done the same composition with different backgrounds, with always inspired by my graffiti. So this specific piece, this specific piece is actually a celebration of strong women. And what more than having the strong women that we have on this show today. And you guys are part of this history here. And we have some, heroes that are TV heroes, but the center of this whole composition is a real life hero. Someone that young girls can see and really be inspired by. I'm really bad with this camera thing, so I really want her to be.
I think you're doing fine. So go speak life. I think you're doing great.
One of the things that I try to capture in the people that I paint is really their struggle and what they went through and how is it that they overcame all those things. And I think it's very unfortunate today that it seems like we're celebrating victimhood too much. And as Maria was saying, it's like we can, people can experience all these different things, but we can overcome all of them. And that's the things that I like to focus on, because instead of celebrating victimhood, and we can be victims of situations, but we don't have to stay in that prison mentality. And one of the persons that I admire, that I've done so many portraits of, too, is Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
He overcame so much, and he could have came out of jail and just been, oh man, I'm down, I'm depressed, I lost 25 plus years of my life being incarcerated. But no, he came out as a victor, and that's what I think I try to communicate to people, is that we can be victims of things. I've been victims of police violence. I've been victim of so many things. Some things I deserved to get because I was not doing the right thing. But if I would have just kept the mindset of being a victim, then I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. And I think this exhibit and having this artist today exemplify that, because no matter what is going on around the country, what is going on around the world, because a lot of times we don't realize that what is going on around the world also affect us here in DC and the United States. And my main thing is always to portray people that have really overcome so many obstacles, and Mr. Copeland is one of those people.
So I see faint images of other women who have trials and tribulations of their own.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
can you talk about them?
Yeah, and Mulan, I have Mulan in the background. I have Wonder Woman, and I have Princess Leia. And on the top left-hand side, which is the other side, on the top right-hand side, that's a made-up character. And each of those women have been in really powerful positions to actually change the outcome of a great problem. And I think that in each of these shows, even though they're very, they're sort of like, like a comic book kind of style shows, sometimes we can actually find real people that identify and can actually inspire real children today. Because a lot of the times, even movies that we see today, there's a lot of times a connection between movies and reality and movies. And sometimes I think we can learn a lot from that. And I've seen so many connections between the movies that we see and the inspiration that comes behind that entertainment. And I'm very choosy about the kind of things I like to feed myself and the kind of things I like to put in my mind, because sometimes I know that the things that we consume really have an impact in the way we, the things that we put out into the atmosphere. And one of the things that I always want to do is celebrate those positive things, the things that seem to be impossible. Because one of the things about being an artist, I see us artists as a whole as superheroes in a way, because who thinks that you can make art, enjoy it, and live off of it? That is a superpower. And everybody can't do it. It's like being an NBA player. Everybody can't be LeBron James. Everybody can't be Michael Jordan, but there are those people that are able to do it. And we have the artists that we have here today are really an example of that, because this is not an easy life. We work every day, but you know what? We can work 20 hours a day, 18 hours a day, and still get up the next day, 4 hours later, and do it all over again, all over again, all over again. And that, I think, is a sort of a superpower that we have.
I like the term superpower, because the reality is that it's really coming from deep down in your belly, right? It's coming, it's just all of this art, all of these emotions, all of the things that you've thought about these women, you're pulling it up and out. You've been mulling it over, and finally at some point the button gets hit and it spurts, right?
It is. And I think one of the things that is always important when you're when painting a portrait is being able to learn the history of the person that you're painting. And I think that's something that sometimes as artists we try to skip, and it's like we just try to do the superficial part, the superficial portrait, and not really learn about the history of the person, and pulling down and learning about their soul and the struggles they've been through. I think it makes it a more successful portrait, because and I think Lisa mentioned this, is that everybody can paint and everybody can create, but not everybody can create. And that is a very, very important point, because you know that a person can go to school, learn all the techniques, and still not be an artist. So when she said that, I was like, she hit it right in the nail. And that is being able to really translate the inner things, the things that we can't really see, and really be able to digest their story, like inhale and then put it out again. And I think that's actually what connects us all and what really makes the artwork successful.
But I think that it's really interesting because you have this circle that she's holding and she's bringing this light, and through this light is from the rays of the light that the rest of the people start to become part of that whole process. It's a circumference that pulls the energy from all of these people that have gone through what she has gone through at some point, and she could resonate with that.
Oh, yes, that is such a great point you made. And that actually has to do a lot with what we're doing today. Because if you really think about it, we inspire each other and we draw from each other's energy. In talking with Alicia and Lisa, and when they came up with this project and walking into their home, I tell you, I went to their home to drop off my piece and I was in a museum. I was like, I gave myself a tour. I grabbed a drink, walked around, and I was so inspired. I went around and looked at the pieces that weren't hanging on the wall. They had some stuff that haven't hung up yet. And I was drawing energy, just like you mentioned about her from the ray and everything coming together. That is exactly what we're doing today. And listening to Maria, her story, I am so inspired. It's 7 at night. I actually had an opening today at my studio today with a project created. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to go back and paint. I don't even want to go to sleep anymore. So just listening to them talk and being in the circle speaks to what you're saying right now. It's like the energy that we're getting from each other. And I think we feed each other. And that's another thing we have to be careful of, that you surround yourself the people that you can kind of feed each other, opposed to just people draining you, because that can be very devastating to creativity and also to your way of thinking too.
That is a powerful statement. We won't get on that because I'll go, I'll be headed down a whole nother direction. Y'all don't want you. Whoa, we're not going to do that, right? Yeah. But I think what we will do, and I love you, Luis. You're just fabulous. I think what we will do is I want to catch up with Karen Buster. Mm-hmm. Is Miss Buster behind the screen? Yay. Hey. Do we have on your I can't hear you, your microphone? Barely. No, now you've turned it off. The microphone is off now. Okay. So no, it's not. I can't hear you. Do you have a plug in there or one of those little microphone things that you put in your ear, kind of doodad? Okay, why don't we do this? I'm going to we're going to go to another artist. Why don't you play with that, and then we'll come back to you if you don't mind. And so here, our next guest would be Preston Sampson. Hello. Katanya. Hey, Preston, you want to open up your mic? Do you see it down at the bottom of the window? There should be
there we go. All
there
right.
You go. Okay.
Yay. All right.
Yay.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. It's past my bedtime almost. I'm I had to drink my warm milk and cookies now. Stay awake.
You know what? Just because you got that gray hair, that don't mean nothing. We'll talk about that after.
Pink out. That's the dyed gray, dyed white.
Wasn't like that when I met you.
I know that's right.
Oh no. Let me talk about Preston Sampson. He's a storyteller and a colorist, heavily influenced by social realism and the Ashcan school artists such as Romare Bearden, Elizabeth Catlett, Jacob Lawrence, Reginald Marsh are a few examples of his predecessors of social narrative painters, telling stories of history and of the common man's plight. His University of Maryland mentor, Sam Gillian, and David Driscoll also have had major impacts on his artistic journey. Sampson emerged in the mid-'80s with works that elegantly merged the figurative with vibrant, fluid color palettes based on themes that depict the dignity and pride of the Black community. His work can be seen in the collections at Yale University, the Library of Congress, University of Colorado, the David Driscoll Center at University of Maryland, University of Alabama, Colorado, the Dallas Museum of African American Art, the Georgia State Museum, the Spirit Museum in Stockholm, Sweden, and the Museo della Carta della Filigrana in Fabriano, Italy.
Yeah, you said that's a mouthful.
It was, but
Yeah.
it's also very prestigious. And what made you start as an artist? What was
What
going on
made
in
me
your life?
start? Let me see. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would have to say being in a household that everybody did something. You know, it was musicians, it was writers, and I thought I could play basketball, but I was wrong. I sucked. So instead, I did. I drew pictures of myself playing sports that I wish I not do. It's funny. I'm in the studio now. I don't know if you can see this. I
Yeah.
did this when I was in the 7th grade in shop
Wow.
class. In
Wow.
Mr. Davis' class, we were supposed to be doing one thing, but of course I did the other thing. I did what I wanted to do. I said, how can I draw with a router? You know, was that I say, whatever it took to make art, I would do something with it. It was, and I'd have to say that, yeah, it was being in a household full of creative people that I took my lead from my sisters and my dad and my mom. It was a house where you had to do something, you had to contribute something. And but it's interesting though, showing you that little wood piece. It's a thing on wood when I was 14. I've always wanted to experiment with different mediums, with whatever. If you set me with a bunch of crayons or what, if it was a clause, torn up newspaper, I try to make something out of it. I'd always the need to try to create something, to make something that wasn't there out of something that existed. So I've always been interested in how do you make something happen. As a matter of fact, with a lot of my work, I leave empty canvas, and people always who don't really know my work will say, "Is it finished?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's way finished." It's like an immediate response. What I'm trying to get from my work, is to tell a story. Because I got ADD, so I can't pay attention for a long time. So I gotta make my point as fast as I can and keep it moving. Because if I don't, and I got a lot of points to make. It's from being a Black man in America to being a father to being a husband, a lover, a friend. There's so many things that go into our experience as people that there's a lot of meat on all of our artistic bones, every one of them, from historical things, Maria, whose work I'm really familiar with her, her twins and her patterns and crosses, everything. We all are telling our own story. And I think as long as it's your story, it's authentic, that nobody can outdo, it can be me better than I can. I can't be Luis. I can't be Pancho. I can't be anybody else, but I'm an expert in me. So some of the things that I want to tell, the stories that I want to tell, and the things I want to leave behind are important to me. And I've been blessed. Well, I don't say luck. There's no such thing as luck, right?
Right.
It's work. All of us in here who doing what we're doing, people only see when it's hanging on the wall. I don't know if you can see behind, but it's my studios. There's so much stuff.
Right.
I'm working all the time.
You have wonderful pieces. What are your primary what's the primary medium that you use?
Acrylic. The one that's most readily available to me is paint, acrylic paint and canvas. But the more I go on, the more I've really started working with a lot of alternative mediums like paper, like handmade paper, pulp painting, monotypes, printmaking, which I've done since I was in college. I always have loved like hand pulled prints, stone lithography, which is a thing of the past, but giving away my age. So now it's like Mylar and different mediums. But I like trying different things. I like seeing what I can do with something that I don't know anything about. I did a little foray into encaustic, which is melted beeswax and oil paint.
Wow.
But I have a bad history of respiratory problems, like pneumonia, which I just had about a month ago.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it is. I think I'm done with encaustic because anytime I do it, I can feel it. I inhale it in my chest, and sometimes I just can't do that anymore. So I have to do other materials. But I mean, like I said, you got to put an egg timer and put a time on me because I'll go all night.
Yes, we know that. We do know that about you, and we love that about you. And we are restricted. But I want you to talk about a couple of those pictures because a lot of the pieces that I've seen of yours are primarily of people, right?
Yeah, pretty much almost always.
Right. And so in looking at the people, what is your fascination?
I love people. I'm a people person. I like talking to people. I like people's stories. I would say that, if I had to put one, tag on my work, it's like people's stories. I always took the stories of my dad and my aunts and my uncles and the people in the neighborhood, and I still take people's stories. I think people are fascinating, and I think, and what you find. I heard Pancho just got back from Africa. I heard just say, but no matter where you go in the world, people have the same issues. White, black, it's not really, it doesn't matter. There's a man somewhere in Italy right now who's got 2 kids and worrying about how to pay his mortgage and, everything else. And there's somebody died or so there's something great happening to them. I think it's a universal experience of people, which is fascinating. And the other part is history. I'm a historian, and I believe in citing what happened in the past. I think you can't move forward if you don't know your past. I think somebody great and famous said that one time. I don't remember. But you got to know what happened before you can. And Marsha, you and I were talking a little bit about this on Sunday about the whole concept of the new generation. Anybody just think that they invented this. They didn't. I mean, I remember Pancho was doing art when I was just getting out of school and just looking at his work and saying, man, it's just a table setter. We're setting the table, and all of us here, Luis, Maria, and Barton, those are the people that I know, but I'm saying the other artists. I mean, we're setting the stage for guys who are going to come and women who are going to come behind us.
Right.
So, I think history is important, and it has to be, you can't forget it. And so just like it never happened, Kendrick Lamar wouldn't be here without Coltrane,
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, but people, I love doing people, and, I do them in all different kind of forms, and, sometimes it's linear, sometimes it's heavy, it's collage, just whatever I feel like. Again, responding to my impatience and attention deficit.
But that's the beauty of it, is that it's where you are and it's a sweet spot, and it automatically comes out of you when it's time. It's like putting something in the oven, and you just know, you don't even have to wait for the little bell to go off. You can sense that it's just that time.
Exactly. And that's funny, but I add one last thing about, figurative work. Yes, but I came from Maryland, which was a very abstract school. So it's in the 70s of who I studied under.
Right.
So I still consider myself like what you call like the new cars, like a hybrid. I got a lot of abstract elements in my work, and it just tends to meld into identifiable forms at times, but I've done a lot of abstract work too and different things. So I'm kind of all over the place.
But that's a beautiful thing because you're creative and you can't be contained. That's why we love you, Preston.
Absolutely. That's what I'd like to think. Yeah, but I would just say this: I'm honored to be in this exhibit. I think it's a great show, great cast of artists who are phenomenal. I mean, there's the ones that I know, and there's no disrespect to the people who I don't know, but I know that Luis character right there. I mean, he's a bad boy, and Maria, I'm one of her biggest fans, and Pancho is like the godfather of soul.
Don't tell him that.
Oh, I know. He got that hat on now. It'll be like a big cowboy hat. Yeah, but
right.
No, thank you all so much at Black Art Now. Y'all are, thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm like you, Luis. I went in the crib. I was like, yikes. I said, damn, I didn't know that. Who was that? I wanted to pull that Jonathan Green off the wall. That sales green, man. It's like, and I wanted to steal that little dog in there too.
You can't go stealing nobody's dog, but you can certainly paint one.
He walks out too far from the house, and you can't find him. You'll know where he is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, but thank y'all so much for this.
Preston Sampson, thank you so much. Our next artist is a good friend and brilliant artist, and Lord, he's funny, needs to be a comedian. Larry Pancho Brown, artist and philanthropist, native of Baltimore, started his first business at the age of 17 as a sign writer, and he's been a full-time artist ever since. He received his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design and Photography from the Maryland Institute College of Art. His art, both fine and commercial, has been published nationally on Upscale, Ebony, Ebony Man, Essence, and Jet Magazine. Featured in UCLA Fowler Museum of the Cultural History book entitled Wrapped in Pride and Connecting People with Art. His popular works have been prominently featured on several television shows, including A Different World, In the House, The Wire, The Carmichael Show, Star, and Greenleaf movies featuring his art include Avalon, He Said, She Said, and Soul Food. His work adorns the walls of the likes of Camille Cosby, Dick Gregory, Anita Baker, Susan Taylor, Ed Gordon, Bernard Bronner, just to name a few. And his original works are in the corporate and institutional collections of Coppin State University, the Charles Wright Museum of African American History, the District of Columbia Superior Courts, the Children's Hospital of Richmond at Virginia Commonwealth University, Howard University Hospital, Yale New Haven Health Park Avenue Medical Center. And his earlier works were predominantly airbrush illustrations, and he's evolved from a graffiti artist in his early years to a classically trained sign painter and graphic artist. His early published works in the mid-'80s, like his Black is Black series, was the first to address the subject of colorism in the African American art realm, and he was one of the many artists often referenced as the popular artist who gained national recognition during the Cosby Show, which was a commercially success between 1985 and 2000. We have a lot more that we could be talking about. You're going to have to read about it, but let's talk to the artist himself, Larry Pancho Brown.
What's up, Marsha? Hey, everybody. What's up, Black Art Today crew, Maria, Luis, and my main man, Preston Sampson.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Just sitting and listening to all the artists reflect on what moves them and what grooves them.
Yeah, what's grooving you? You just got back from Africa.
Yes, I did. Spent 5 weeks there working with a group of artists. And, I'm just, you know what? It's like, I guess the first thing I want to say is that, we have to remove the pretentiousness from the art business. We are all trying to just do a simple thing, and that's just share our visions and share our stories with the world. Artists are being divided left and right by groups, by medium, by era, by self-taught versus taught, by all these other things. And at the end of the day, y'all, we all in the same game. We all are simply getting our therapy, because that's all God gave us a thing for, is to keep us occupied and to keep us from killing folk.
Wait, we're gonna go back, because I'm gonna check. We're gonna turn the page on that, because that sounds like a real deep story that we're not doing tonight. That's another show. That's another show. That's another show. That's another show. Pancho, I want to go back to, I know you, brother. Don't. I want you to go back to Africa.
Yeah.
And the 5 weeks, I was so intrigued with that whole experience. And what brought that on? What made you, because you've been before, but to do a 5 week residency was really powerful. And I would just like to know what was your plan when you went over there? What were some of the takeaways from that experience? And how did that impact your art?
Well, I can say that I've been to Africa 6 times. I've
Mhm.
also taken 2 groups of artists to Ghana and to Senegal back in 2013 and 2014. And so my whole concept at first was to take artists to Africa and do not just a touristy trip, but do something that was art related, where they could see carvers and they could see some of the traditional mediums that we that are passing through us as vessels. Because a lot of times we claim what we do, and this is DNA based, y'all. You can forget whatever pretensions you got about your originality, forget it. Because when you go to the motherland, you're gonna look, you go, wait a minute, there go my fences. Wait a minute, there go my abstract figurative combinations. Oh my God, there goes my superheroes. You're gonna see all of this stuff in Africa.
Mhm.
And see, I'm a second generation artist. My father was an artist, and it was wonderful for me when I first went to actually make that connection. That hey, I wasn't all as original as I thought I was. I had a Eurocentric view of what art was anyway. And so on this trip, basically, it was a lady who joined me on my first tour, my second tour to Ghana. She was a guest on our artists and art collectors tour. And during the tour, it was a 12-day tour. She says, like towards the end of the tour, "Hey, do you guys mind stopping somewhere?" And I was like, "Sure, let's stop somewhere." She took us to a property she had just purchased a couple of years prior, and she was getting ready to retire from Xerox and move from LA to Ghana. And I got to see her property when she first purchased it. Here it is 9 years later, and to see how this woman has implanted herself in that.
Mm.
He invited us back to do a residency for 5 weeks where we dealt with artists at the Ghana Cultural Center. I had another artist by the name of Karen Clark, who's a ceramicist who worked with the ceramics artists in their quarters, and I adopted a art studio there that consists of about 7 different artists. And so that was it. We just basically took our gifts, shared it with them. They shared what they had with us. And I think that cultural connection, like Samson was saying earlier, we're all connected spiritually. And so when we do things like this, we inspire each other, we fire each other up. We it's an energy that we have that nobody told us about.
Mhm.
Collective energy. And I've done so many creative quarantine projects where I pull artists together where they work for 1 month at a time, and we got to share that collective energy. And I can tell you, that's all the magic right there. But to also be in a group of people where you don't have to explain yourself, justify who you are, what moves you, what
Mhm.
brings you, that's a heavenly space to be in. And so I try to create as many different environments, creative environments like that as I can. While Alicia said earlier that some artists are not creative, and I believe that hey, people, most of us are creative. It's just how you harness it. What's
Mhm.
more serious about it? I mean, you look behind me. There's a tornado behind me.
Right,
I'm working 24/7. I'm working
right.
all the time. Whereas I might talk to an artist who may work once or twice a month. I'm not taking away from the one who works once or twice a month. And we got to stop dividing ourselves creatively and offer ourselves as much as we can to folks that are trying to use this method to communicate their messages to the world.
Mhm. You know, I'm looking at the piece that's behind you. When did you do that, and what does it say? What's the
That was
story?
actually done for the Underground Railroad Museum in Cincinnati, Ohio, when they first opened. And it's blocking a tornado of stuff. That as the official poster for the grand opening. I do a lot of commissions for nonprofit organizations. Probably have done 70 plus images for different organizations across the country. So it's an area I focused in back about 3 decades ago because I'm celebrating my 40th year as a full-time artist.
I love it. And so when we are looking at the world today and the representation of your work, what do you find the most challenging in the work that you do?
The challenges I have nothing to do with creativity, have nothing to do with this being in my studio, have nothing to do with working. It has to do with society and how distracted they are. Whether you are an artist or a musician or a dancer or anything, there's so much distractionary energy out there now. It's just very, very hard to find focus with all of that. And so I think artists do a very good job of being aloners and isolators to shield that stuff out and not let that hamper what story they need to tell. Because we're all vessels, man. That's all it is to it. I don't care where you're from, how you got into it, when you started. We're a vessel to take something that's blank and make it tell a story. That's magic right there. And I don't care how you do it. You do it with paper, with just splashing a bucket of paint on a canvas.
Yeah.
Whatever your story is your story. And I just love that I'm able to number one, make a living doing this. Number two, be a part of this sisterhood, fellowship, sorority, fraternity, whatever you want to call it, of creatives, because I think we change the world by the things that we do.
You know, what's really beautiful is that, the conversation goes from being isolated to be able to do it, but needing the community to gather the spirit to do some of the work that you do. You are an outgoing person at the right time. I see that you can make that you can what do you call it? You can sequester yourself to manage what you do, but you have a bold spirit.
I do, but I think there's a commonality with most creatives in that we are all in an isolated space when we do what we do. We're in quiet time. We're in suspended animation. We are time travelers when we do what we do. I think the dividing line is that God never intended us to do this for ourselves. And so at some point, you recognize that, and some people never do. That is what your job is. It's not just to do it to tell your story. It's to do to tell a story and share it with the world and let them decide where it's going to be and how it's going to be. And I think that once you get a real handle on what that is, then you just spiritually and you just spiritually get out the way.
I like that. Spiritually get out the way.
The creator's already given you what you need. Whether you recognize it, use it, that's up to you whether you do or you don't. There's enough examples of ones that have and ones that have not. And there's another whole level of people out there who have done it to such an extreme that they're not even stable. So trying to find that happy medium in the middle, I think is what we're all striving for, because again, no matter where you come from, what race you are, what age you are, there's a commonality between creatives. And I think I've been fortunate enough to have an understanding of that very early. So I am an artist advocate, probably stronger than I am an artist, because I understand the things that creatives go through and have to filter through just to do what they do.
To do what they do.
To do what they do.
And to do what they do is necessary for them to do in order for them to have the peace that they need.
It's only given to us for therapy anyway.
Say it again.
Nobody said you had to make a living from it. Nobody said it's got to hang in a museum. You know, when I go back to Africa and I see that it's just a part of the culture, the traditions. It's just been handed down over and over. The whole village, it was a language. It was a way of communicating. It was a way of expressing. That's we got to get back to the basics of what creativity really is, because it's got so much pretentiousness in it now that I think artists now are more lost than they've ever been, despite all the advantages we have coming towards us. It's like all these little cliques of people and ideologies, and it's just distractionary.
All right, Larry Pancho Brown.
But I also want to speak on another subject that's very important, because I like to stir the pot every now and
okay,
then.
but we ain't stirring the pot right now. Let's get to.
Let me finish this statement, and this is a very important statement. That's the only reason why I'm raising it.
Okay, but
I'm glad that Nieman Marcus has taken the chance.
Okay, but Pancho, Pancho.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to go to Karen.
Okay.
Okay. Karen Buster is a Baltimore, Maryland native. She was reared in a private artist colony, her childhood home. Her childhood home. How else do you describe an atmosphere with a designer mother, a dancer sister, another sister, a wordsmith poet, and an artist brother? The only one in her immediate family to be a career artist, Karen is blessed to have grown up in a household that encouraged creativity and recognized the source of her art, which is a gift from a higher power. Her mother told her as a child she was gifted and different. More importantly, Karen believed it too. And the original Karen Busters are in the private celebrity collections of Queen Latifah, Denzel Washington, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Toni Braxton, Jada Pinkett Smith, Charles Dutton, among a host of others. Her prints also call the walls of the Beverly Hills and Philadelphia Chambers of Commerce, respectively, home. Among her awards, Karen is the recipient of Baltimore's own Unsung Art Exhibition 2014 Female Artist of the Year, the National Coalition of the 100 Black Women's Arts and Culture Award 2007, and the 2002 recipient of the Black Heritage Visual Arts Association's Favorite Emerging Artist. Karen is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and her journey to the world of fine arts came via her t-shirt design business, Busterizing. She doesn't take her transition from t-shirts to 35 plus years creating fine art originals and prints for granted. She hears testimonials from her collectors about how her art speaks to them and brings solace to their personal situations, such as overcoming illness, recovery from drug abuse, and finding peace after the death of a loved one. Her eyes have been trained since age 5 to distinguish between positive and negative space, thanks to her attraction to photography, negatives, and dreaming in black and white. These key components hold significance in Buster's art and are the inspiration for his signature black and white X-Acto knife cutouts. The introduction of color in her signature cutouts came via a dream based on a New Orleans jazz club scene. I'd like to introduce Karen Busterizing Brown. How you doing?
I'm doing well in yourself. Thank you. I'm sorry about my technical difficulty a little earlier. Sometimes I can be a little challenged. My partner to that side over there or that side over there definitely knows. But thank you for inviting me. Thank you for making me a part of this whole historical moment of bringing us all together.
Thank you for joining us. We're very excited to have you here. And we see some of your beautiful pieces behind us. Do you want to talk a little bit about your pieces and what your medium is? What are you working with?
Well, I've been basically, I guess most people know me for my black and white images.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have been doing is I actually see and cut negatives by hand to give myself that black and white. You said I was attracted to the camera and photography and those negative strips as a child. So when I look at my work, that is what I see, and I'll cut those strips and make my pieces negative and positive pieces. So when the black and white hit each other, when they connect, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. And so when you are dealing with this, does your subject matter change? Do you find yourself dealing primarily with people or things? What are your
Well,
priorities?
I deal with everyday experiences. You know, I can look at something or look at somebody and take the color out of them and just see the fiber of the I guess as simple as it could be, a line drawing of a person or a line drawing of a flower. What I have come to find out and what's happening with me now is because times are changing, that same flower I might see with a lot of black and white and in the power and the joy of it being a festive thing, I can look at that flower now and see how it can kind of like droop and go here. And though it's still being black and white, and though it's still being a flower, for lack of terms, with the turmoil and the trials and tribulations of today's world, that something so simple can be so powerful, but still work for me. So to answer your question, it could be anything. It could be anybody. It could be an experience. I had experience where I had a heart attack at 38 years old.
What?
And yeah, and one of the things came after what was two pieces: spirituality and uninhibited. So, to know that at 38, I'm 62 now, that you can bounce back from any kind of adversity.
Still standing. That's what I
Still
call
standing.
it.
Still standing.
Through that. And I think one thing that's really the other thing that's important is how you take these pieces, but you also deal with objects too, and how they interface with one another. The
Right.
Right?
The
And
mixed media pieces. Yeah.
how did you get involved with those?
I've
You can see
always
one right
wanted to
there.
see pieces that were upright, and
Mhm.
everything has always been flat and against the wall and flat medium. And I just wondered what it would feel like to see pieces moving around and just kind of like be upright. My best friend and my biggest supporter, I'm going to say, challenged me to move out of my comfort zone of just doing the black and white and step into different and other kinds of mediums. So it pushed me from just doing the print medium to doing serigraphs. I mean serigraphs, steel pieces and wood pieces and sculptures, but still, I love geometrical shapes. So I'm
Oh,
always still
I love
working with
that.
with, with, with my circles and squares, but it allowed me just to step into just
Is that
something a
metal?
little bit different. This is steel.
Oh,
So that push, and I am the kind of artist person, um, can say that I can sit back, but sometimes I need to be pushed because I can become very complacent, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing as an artist and a tourist. That my time frame can be on my time frame. But then I think with the once you kind of I get into what's going on, I can put my head down and work, and then you look up and it's 24 hours later, where it may have taken me 64 to get started, but it's just the whole thing of how things work for me and how how I work. It's a few things. I mean, I have my own challenges. I'm dyslexic as an adult, which allowed me to understand as an adult some of the things that were going on with me as a child, not knowing why I would hesitate to work or how I would draw my notes in school, and the little things that had to happen to make myself comfortable. As an adult, it's just one more thing for me to say, just like I'm black and I'm proud, that this dyslexia is something that can allow you to you can make it and you can work. We have such it's so easy for you to kind of step back and kind of hide behind a gift, which is what I did as a child, because I've never been a reader, and that was because the words would just do this kind of thing for me.
wow.
But I could draw those words all day and get through whatever it was that I was supposed to be reading. So I think in terms of art, when Parch says it's something that kind of like feeds your soul, you can find it becoming a comfort zone, where it became a comfort zone for me as a child and even more as an adult.
Yes. And it hits you right in that spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That spirit takes over, and you're no longer in control,
Correct.
right? And that's evident. So did you use like a laser kind of thing to the cutouts on that steel piece you just did? How'd you do that?
Yes, well, ultimately, like it's done as a fabrication, but when I start working with my favorite thing, my X-Acto knife, and I'm working into film, and I'm cutting my stencils with the knife for it to be fabricated into this material. And it's just something, again, different than what sits against the wall. And now she's standing up and looking at me.
I love it. Karen Buster, these are phenomenal. Your work is amazing. I'm so grateful that you're here and you're part of this show.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like
Thank you,
to.
Lisa and Elisa, too. Black art.
Oh, yes. And so we have to find the net. We have another artist that I've been waiting for, and she's had something else to do. Alma Roberts is with us today, and I'm so excited to see her. She is she's at another event, but she's made time for us today, so we're really grateful. And she's a Baltimore-based second-generation abstract expressionist. And in 2011, at the age of 62, she literally picked up a paintbrush and began producing what has been described as fully formed, energetic, abstract compositions that belie the fact that she is new to the medium. Her works provide an insight into her viewpoints on life and the issues and forces that impact it. As she states, my father was a portraitist. And yet our work often deals with similar expressions, responses, and desires. He drew the faces of those fighting and yearning for a new way of life in this country. I paint my way through the issues and stories that have not changed very much for people of color. I'm honored to wear the mantle of elder and accept the charge of conveying messages that translate society, culture, faith, values, and relationships for those who follow me. I use a broad palette of colors to grab the attention of the viewer and then use abstraction to get my messages across. Conveying these messages is a culturally grounded manner, and it's often all of a person of color can do in the struggle to undo racism and its traumatic generational impact. For years, I did this through spoken and written imagery. Now I use my visual work to connect and to translate my life to those I live with and for. Even at this age, it is my intent to stay unapologetically woke and present through my art. I owe that to my father, to honor the gift of his artistry that he passed on to me and the sacrifices he made to give. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, Alma. And I just love you. You are the voice of reason. You have the peace. You have the clarity, and you've kept me off of a lot of ledges. I know that. I know. I do know that. But I think that it's really important that the people that we surround ourselves with have to be those positive forces to keep you in a positive light where you can do and be the best that you can be in your authentic self. So talk to us about your art. Talk to us about your experience and give us that sage advice that you normally do.
Yeah, well, let me start by saying all those ledges I've talked you off of, those are the ones I would have been on in earlier years. So they were recognizable, and I wanted to save you the hassle, the trouble. So, but Marsha, thank you so much. I took the Nieman Marcus Black Art Today press release, and I said, let me just get it out to people who I thought would be interested. Marsha jumped on it. She saw the vision. She saw the power of what was happening here. And I thank you so much. And Black Art Today, you are the bomb. I am so happy to meet you. Thank you, Maria, for introducing me. And God knows I'm humbled to be among this magnificent bevy of artistic magnificence. Thank you all so much for allowing me to be part of it. I'm the oldest person here, but one of the newest to being an artist. Mm-hmm. I paint because my father told me to. He gave up his art to make a better life for his family. And I grew up with that story. I never in 1,000 years dreamed I would be an artist. I collected every one of my siblings, 9 of us, collected art all of our lives. But there was never one of us who dreamed that we would walk this closely in his footsteps. until I had a transformational experience. It was him, God, I don't know who, but I was instructed to begin painting with my left hand, which he was a left-handed portraitist.
Oh, wow.
And I painted for the first few years that way until I said, well, let me see what happens with the other one. And boom, it all just has continued for a decade now. It is doing that. I'm leaving my legacy. I'm doing what Pancho said. I'm doing what I was told to do because that's what artists do. And so I use acrylic because I tried to use oil and it just took too long. I'm the layer queen, I call it. Because nothing is what it is on the surface. And so I'm always building things on top because of the depth of each and every one of us. I do that every day, just like all of us. We're painting all hours of the day and night. We're painting when we see a color, a sunset, something that makes us angry, something that makes us sad, and something that makes us happy. And I'm learning every step of the way. Preston is doing, and I've forgotten the word already, the encaustic. He's put it aside. I'm just picking it up. So, we all gonna keep on rolling, whatever brings us the joy and the messaging that we need to do as part of our job.
But, I think there's something that's also really critical here that, it is our job. It is to be able to speak in many different voices. And so to be able to put a brush or a pen or a pencil to paper or canvas or whatever, or if it's clay, there has to be a way to release. There has to be a way to release and to express. And it's in that expression that brings us here together to be able to have these conversations, because it's the spirits that have been ignited within us to share with the world our beauty that's within us.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I start my day and end my day every day looking at art. Every artist I can come across. It's not just abstract artists. It's not just figurative. I'm looking at art because I find something in almost every piece I look at, or read about the interpretation and say, oh my, so it's a learning process. And when someone looks at a piece of mine and has an interpretation that I say, oh, okay, it's joyous because they found something hidden in my work that I hadn't even thought of. And that is just spectacular.
And I think that sometimes just knowing you, because you're not real surfacey, right?
I like that.
Right. That's not who you are, girl. There are very few people that can look at me and they don't even have to say anything because they know ain't no telling what's getting ready to come out of my mouth. But Alma can look at me and I know that I shouldn't even, I just freeze because because I know that it's coming. But it's having people that have the spirit and the love for you and what they do and who they are, that you surround yourself, first of all, with these people. I'm looking at people here that I just adore and that are wonderful. And you have to have that as creatives. You have to have that positive, wonderful experience, or it takes you to another place so that you can fulfill some of that destiny that you're trying to create, right? Because that destiny will be there when you're not. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. That your art will outlive you, outlive all of us. Up here, Tom is right there on the wall, and left me the Marsha chair, so that I would be able to keep that for the rest of my whole life, is in that chair on the wall from Tom Miller.
Yes, yes, yes.
right?
Yeah.
My whole, literally, that's the Marsha chair. My
Mhm.
whole life is in that, from art. He took a chair that I grew up with and took it away and came back with the Marsha chair. And you all do the same. You do the same. You pick up something little and you take it away and it comes back and it's transformational to the space that it's in for you, the people who look at it. It's transformational, and the love and the peace that you all have is incredible.
Yeah, I think it is part and parcel of the people we surround. Like you said, we surround ourselves with. I know the family I grew up in. Having my father, he painted for 40 years, and right at the time I was born, when I might have seen that beauty, he had to make a gut-wrenching decision. What does that tell a child, my siblings? Responsibility, caring, thinking beyond yourself. Those are things that have been driving tenets in my whole existence. And it's what we share as artists together. And it's the beauty of this exhibit, and the next one we'll be in, and the next one, because we're creating a community, a family, a living network, if you will. And I'm so absolutely delighted to be a part of it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much. And I want to go back to Black Art Today and have you all open up your mics for a few moments as we get ready to close out. In looking at this piece, I mean, I know you all were listening to this, and I'd like to have your thoughts as we start to close out.
Go ahead.
No, you don't go.
Oh,
She's the voice of Black Art
I'm the
Today.
voice of Black Art Today.
Okay. The voice of Black Art Today. Okay, go ahead.
But she has the radio voice, but I'm the one that ends up talking.
That's all right, girl. You sound fabulous. So we're going to just listen as we go.
So I'm actually, I'm sitting here and I am overwhelmed with the opportunity and the greatness of the artists that are part of this exhibit. Alicia and I were saying that we have an incredible lineup, and I just can't wait for everyone to see all the art together, because we're immersed in it right now, and it's phenomenal to have that energy and know that it's created by us, and it's such a part, like Pancho said, it's in your DNA. It's in your DNA. Nobody else could express or tell our story but us. And you guys are masters at telling our story through your own personal experiences, or just through observation, and in some cases, divine intervention, or it's just something that just comes to you. It's not, and somebody said it earlier, making something out of nothing.
Making it something that it wasn't.
Right,
Yeah.
making it something to that effect, and we're like, wow, that was like mind blowing for us. That was so profound. So we're really looking forward to the exhibit on Saturday. I don't know if I'm more excited about seeing the art and seeing the reaction of other people, or just seeing all of these phenomenal artists together.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is amazing and historical. And we can't overlook the fact this is historical. We realize that we're in the process of making history, and we were talking to Pancho, and he gave us some advice. He was like, you got to document this. It has to. I don't care how you figure it out. You better, get some cameras in there, some videography, and document this. So we're working on that side of the house, but I think all of us will have our own way of memorializing this moment. And I really, and Ashley couldn't join us tonight, who was a young lady that made that phone call. And the story behind it is she called another organization and they never called her back. And then she Googled us and we answered the phone. So in and of itself, that to me, I always believe in the divine interventions.
Yes.
And we were where we were supposed to be because she called the person that never answers her phone.
Look at God. Look at God.
Never answers her phone. If she doesn't recognize the number, she's like, but she answered the phone. And then I don't think she realized how her entire disposition changed. Her whole body, like, I knew it was something. I was like, oh God, somebody died. What happened? You know, body language just changed. And we got off the phone, and we have to tell this story. And when you see me on, if you look real close, there's a little scar right here. So we're over the kitchen jumping around. Oh my God, it's Nieman Marcus. Oh my God. And we jump at the same time, and she hits me in the head with the phone and then scratches my nose.
Oh my goodness.
So I got scars. I'm from this, and I think I've been scarred physically and emotionally at times. Thanks to Larry Pancho Brown, because we called him when he was in Africa. We were calling him to say, Pancho, do you want to be a part of the show? We didn't get that out. He was like, let me tell you, I don't want to, he just went in. But at that moment, I was so defeated. I got off the call and I was like, maybe I don't think we should do this. And then I regrouped after I cleaned the entire house, because that's my thing. I got to clean. I didn't shampoo carpets, everything, right? So then as this thing started to unfold, I heard him. Everything he had said, it had just come to fruition. It wasn't a self-fulfilling or a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was the truth. Mm-hmm. And in that truth, we were able to shift. Right. And we would flow. Whatever they threw, whatever change was made, we made the adjustment, we made the shift, and we just kept flowing. Mm-hmm. And then what we're so grateful for, the artists flowed with us. It wasn't that, oh, y'all need to get together. Well, and everybody was patient, because we have seasoned professionals. Not only are you artists, you're seasoned professionals, and you know the art business, and you know the challenges, and we're just so grateful that that you agreed to be a part of this, and just so supportive throughout the entire process. And we're just looking forward to, hopefully we're going to make you proud on Saturday. We had to make some adjustments on how we were going to display the art, because certain things aren't available to us, but we're going to make it do what it do with what we got, because that's who we are. That's the kind of people we are. We've always made something happen.
Mm-hmm. Make a way out of no way, child. That's what we keep it. That's my life's mission. Keep it moving. We know how to do that.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to it. And again, Marsha, thank you so much for affording us this opportunity to have the artists, some of the artists participate in this and talk about their work and their creative process. And I'm just looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday. And by the way, it's on the first floor. It's not on the third floor, first floor.
Okay, and we'll send out another note so that it says that. All right, so Black Art Today and all these phenomenal artists that are with us today. I want to thank Alma Roberts, Larry Pancho Brown, Preston Sampson, Maria Lana Queen, Luis Perta del Valliere, and our last, Mr. Preston Sampson. Thank you all so much for joining us. And please look forward to the upcoming exhibit. It presents KUUMBA, Black Art Today, at Tyson's Nieman Marcus Tyson's Galleria. Third was first floor, 2255 International Drive, McLean, Virginia, 22102. And it's an exhibit honoring Black artists. And it's this Saturday, February 26th, from 1 to 5, celebrating KUUMBA, celebrating Black History Month. And you're invited to experience all of these amazing pieces of art and the performance of Jennifer Jenkins, violinist. So thank you all for joining us. This concludes our show. This is Marsha Jews for WKIM Media Network. Please make certain that you keep in touch with us and let us know and subscribe to our newsletter and our social media pages. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you, Preston. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. This was
All right.
wonderful. Appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Your mic is muted. You're muted.
Thank you all so
Thank you.
much.
We appreciate it.
Wonderful.
This
It
was
was
wonderful. I'm going to call you guys when you're going to close out.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.